Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, The Inked Reader. My name is Eva and today I am wrapping up all the things I have read, all the comics I've read in the month of July. I just finished inhaling ciabatta with eggs and mushrooms inside, and I am pretty sure that inhaling is the right term because there was no chewing or biting involved. So I might have flour around my mouth. You know, when ciabatta sometimes they put like on top of the bread they put like a bit of like flour. I don't know why they do it, but I tried to clean myself. I hope I did a good job. But without further ado, let's get into the manga and graphic novels I've read, from the least enjoyable read to the most enjoyable read. However, with manga and graphic novels I am always or almost always lucky. I always love my reads for the month. So to be fair, like Last Place is still a very solid read. So from the stats you could have seen that I didn't manage to read all the comics for this month, which is the only month in the year I believe that I couldn't, apart from one month where a volume physically didn't arrive. This is the only month where I had all the volumes in my hands but couldn't get around to all of them. So the only thing I didn't even open up was Endless Night by Neil Gaiman. This is a spin-off of The Sandman, and yeah, I'm gonna try and push this to August. The other thing I started the last day of the month but I didn't finish on that day, it's Adventure Time Volume 7. So yeah, I will be done by the end of August with this for sure. Now, for the last thing, yeah, I didn't finish this month. To be fair, it's not completely my fault. I mean, it is, but not for what you think. So I mentioned this book saying in my TBR, saying that on Amazon, actually, upon reviewing, some of the editions listed on Amazon were in French. And I really hoped that my edition wouldn't be in French. Now, I got this book, which is a hardcover, for a very cheap price. And guess why? I should have bet some money, but I couldn't finish Little Bird because I am reading this in French. Now, when you say, what do you mean, Eva, you're reading this in French? I am translating dialogue by dialogue using my phone to read this bloody thing. And I am really liking it for what I can understand of the story, because again, translator is not perfect, but I am like, in a month I could because I can't do it for more than like a few panels. If I do one page a day, I'm lucky, and I don't do it every day. So I've just read probably 15 pages of these, which is quite long because I have to translate each sentence. Would it be just easier to buy an English copy? Yes, but they are very expensive, so that's why I'm not doing it. And to be fair, I am just discovering that I know some words in French. Feels like I'm learning a language, although I'm not. But when I started first to study English when I was in USA, I remember that I translated a whole book, like a contemporary, it was a book by Meg Abbott. I translated all of it word by word from English to Italian, and that's how I firstly started to learn English, just going through the vocabulary and learning every word in the book. So yeah, just bringing back memories, and I'm doing it this way, and it's okay, you know. So I'm gonna put numbers here on next to me because I don't remember them, okay? So the least enjoyable thing, if you wanna put it like that way, but don't take this again wrongly, it's actually JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. This is volume 1 of part 2, Battle Tendency, and I have read the first trilogy, and this just starts by following basically the descendant of the protagonist of the volume number 1. I'm not giving you any synopsis in my wrap-ups because I do so in my TBRs. So if you're interested in more lengthier synopsis, you can go there. This is a seinen manga, and I have to say that although many of you told me that, you know, JoJo's feels very different, like each saga within JoJo feels pretty different, I didn't feel this was particularly different compared to the first trilogy. I actually found eerily similar to it, and it felt like very much a pumped up main protagonist, like stronger protagonist with a stronger bad guy involved, but very similar bad guy and very similar protagonist, just a bit more sillier than main protagonist. Now, I think what I wanted also to say, I guess I take this occasion to mention this, is that I am, as everybody else probably, I'm enjoying manga, volumes, books, or whether it's the case, also according to my mood. And with JoJo, it is pretty bizarre and it's so far-fetched, so absurd that a lot of people don't like it because of it. And I don't mind it. However, if I'm not in the best of moods, probably picking a volume up is not the best of ideas, because I might get more bothered by how absurd this is. There is a kind of breath magic in these that I really struggle with. I mean, I'm liking everything else, but the powers, especially in this, like this kind of breath magic, what is it called? There's a very specific name. I will remember it sooner or later. I'm gonna try and find it and put it here, but that kind of magic, I am, for how much I can put up with the absurd of JoJo's, that kind of magic I still struggle a bit with. And this felt pretty long for JoJo's volume. Usually I fly through, and this one at some point it was like, is it over? And it never ended. So that is why it's at the last place. But overall I did enjoy it. A couple of things. There is a bad guy that is a Nazi that at one point is almost made into the hero, and I thought that was a bit of a bold choice to take for, you know, the mangaka. And yes, I understand that horrible people can still do good things now and then. I'm not denying that. However, I thought it was a bit like an odd choice. And the last thing, in the end, they go to Italy to meet a new character, and they meet this new character and they're in this restaurant, and I could picture this character who is Italian having like the thickest Italian accent you can think. So it goes, "Mamma mia," and I could literally like picture it so well in my mind. Like, I'm Italian, if you don't know, and so that kind of like sentence that it's so often associated with Italy, which, to be fair, we don't say "mamma mia" that much, at least not where I come from. Like, it's not a sentence that we use it, but not that often. While every time I meet someone, like in a comic or like in a book, a lot of times I use that "mamma mia," and I can imagine with a very thick southern accent, "mamma mia," and like a bit of Mario, Super Mario Bros. So I kept repeating that sentence and having like so much fun. So overall, I think I wasn't in the best of moods to read JoJo when I picked this up, and that is on me. But in the end, that made me laugh so much and made me kind of very happy to have read it. The next one, I generally don't have much to say, so I will just spend like a little 10 seconds to say I've read Morning Glories Volume 7. Unfortunately, I bought these used years ago and my copy was slightly damaged, as you can see. But things get more up by the time goes by, and I keep being very confused. And maybe this is a series that I should have like binged read in like 1 month. I need to now continue on and purchase the rest of the volumes. I am really liking it. However, I do notice that I tend these months to push it like toward the last places, because not much remains in my memory from Morning Glories, and I generally believe it's because of how confusing it is. So it's like my brain goes, nope, not useful, forget it, leave room to remember something else. And so that is why, although I am really enjoying the volume, and I get to the end and like, oh, I just love this, I don't know what just happened, but I love this, ultimately it just doesn't stick in my brain. But yeah, that was more than 10 seconds, but there is like a bee trying to get in, and I'm just like, she keeps hitting the glass, and she's been hitting the glass for like 5 minutes now. The window is closed. Anyway, next one I've got Lore Olympus Volume 4. And listen, I know this is particularly low compared to how much I have been shouting about this series, how much I've been loving it, and how usually this goes into like first or second place. And don't get this wrong, I love Lore Olympus, okay? And the art in Lore Olympus is something that I could read every day, all day long, forever. Okay, so this has nothing to do with the art and nothing to do with the volume in itself. One thing I really enjoyed about this, for example, is how Core really stands up for herself, and there is a moment where she confronts someone who's done something horrible to her, and that scene I found very raw and powerful, and I really enjoyed it. However, I think the reason why this is my least favorite volume thus far, I think it's because the main romantic plot felt quite stagnant at times. And I know that this is taking its time, and I don't mind the slow burn. I don't mind this kind of like just exploring other characters and this world. I really had a good time. But But when I sat down, I couldn't stop thinking that I didn't love these as much as any of the other volumes. And again, I do believe it comes down to the core couple in these. Also, Minthe, can she just get out of the scene? Maybe that is something else that bothered me a tiny bit, where we are in this limbo with this Minthe, with this character. And I mean, there was a lot of room to just get rid of her. Why she's there? Why is she still part of this plot where she's not really? Like, she's in the background. A lot of things do not happen probably because she's around, but then she's not really in the volume. She's just used to slow down things, I believe, at times, and I'm just ready for her to go. But this doesn't mean that I am less excited about the next volume or continuing on. Lori is still one of my favorite, like, romantic, one of the very few romantic series, comic series that, if not only this year, they've been following and loving, and this is not changing that. Then I've got Summertime Rendering, upside down. This is the 5th and second to last volume out. These comics, they look stunning. I'm just gonna show you these. I am in love with the aesthetic of that, and they got like posters at the end that you can kind of open. I think there is nudity, so I can't show you that one, but I probably can show you this one. I know I'm not the best at showing you pictures and stuff like that. I just run through it. I get better, okay? When I do these videos, I got like a million things popping in my mind, and yeah, I'm still improving on how many of those things I actually pay attention to. And so, Summertime Rendering, I have been really enjoying the series. However, I am still very confused about what's going on. I'm pretty much confused on the rules and how the bad guys and all of these work. Like, it's that some of this concept and around objects and these bad guys in here, how this works, without giving any spoilers, I am still very confused on how all of this is working. So there is the element of frustration that comes with, wait, what? Like, I don't get it, or whether. But this ultimately is so thrilling. At the beginning, I was a bit frustrated because, I mean, not at the beginning, but toward the end, they managed to fix things, and then something happens, and I can't spoil it again, but it was a bit frustrating having just like, they made it, and then no, they didn't. And that was, and again, it makes sense if you know Summertime Rendering, it makes sense what I'm saying. And at the beginning I was like, no, and then I thought, well, it wouldn't be Summertime Rendering if I did it, right? So I am actually eager to see what's gonna happen in the next and last volume of the series. I am as excited about it as actually afraid, because I don't want to cry. I actually realized how much I grew attached to these characters, how much I root for them, and I am not okay with something happening to them. Not the best series to grow attached to anybody, to be fair. And I also blame Hogwarts Legacy for my reading less, because I've been playing that, just living in that kind of environment these days, and just taking a few hours every day to just play that. I've not played a video game in a long while, and I am just loving being back in that world. Gameplay is not the best, it's very simple, but I am just enjoying the ride. And now, of course, someone has decided to drill. On the 1st of August, where everybody is on holiday, someone is drilling in the garden.
A few moments later.
Yeah, now the window is closed. Hopefully the background noise is better. I might start sweating though. Fire Punch, as I said, volume number 5. Now this is the first volume where there is no absurd element thrown in, and I loved it. I generally liked the absence of absurd elements in these for once, because I've been enjoying overall everything about this series, apart from the very weird things that sometimes Fujimoto just throws at your face out of the blue. Trust Fujimoto to gut punch you exactly when you thought, well, things are improving. It did hurt a lot, and I had to go back 3 times and reread those scenes to make sure it wasn't a dream, either for me or for the main protagonist. I had to go back and make sure that that was really happening, because when I thought it couldn't get darker than it already did, I mean, Fire Punch is an experience, and I don't love the world it created just because there's generally nothing to love. It's a bleak, horrifying world to live in, and I think that message of how harrowing and how desperate the situation is coming very strongly through, and I can only appreciate then what he's doing because of how he communicates, I think, what he wants to communicate. But yeah, I was actually glad I didn't have more volumes in my hands, because I would have probably binge read the whole series, and I don't know if I was ready for it. It still hurts. I felt that metaphorical punch really strongly. Now, next I've got 2 volumes of One Piece, so I've read volume 5 and volume 6, and let me tell you, the restaurant in the middle of the ocean, I am really digging that kind of plot. I really like the setting we are in. I like the new protagonist, like the new, I guess it's a crew member. I've not watched the anime, or I've watched a few episodes decades ago. I am pretty sure that Sanji, that's how you pronounce it, I don't know, that he becomes part of the crew, okay? So I'm here for him. I really enjoy his character, and I also enjoyed how in volume 6, I believe, yes, in volume 6 there is a new enemy that it's introduced, and that enemy has a lot of relevance for one of the protagonists, one of the member of the crews, and how that introduction of a new enemy allowed us to be more deeper inside the motivation of this character and their goal and what's moving them forward despite all, you know, the disadventures and all the pain they've gone through. So yeah, really digging these. It's so funny. Usopp is such a sweetheart, like everything in these, and it's comedic, it's funny, and you know, a lot of swashbuckling adventures that I can't not love. Okay, so the next 3 are the 4 technically. They are pretty much the same level of enjoyment, and the only reason why I chose them to put this way is because either they were a new thing, or you know, they were a beloved thing, or maybe it's something like, you know, add some more twists to it, or whether is a reason. But in terms of enjoyment, honestly, there is so little difference that I could have just called them number 111. Now the next one is gonna have 2 volumes that I'm gonna talk about. However, let me say these straight away that I like to read 1 volume a month only, because it allows me to have less biases and to be more clear on where I put stuff. And sometimes when I read, like, you know, 2 things of the same saga, of the same series, I think like I should just speak about them together, but then maybe they shouldn't be at the same place in the ranking of enjoyment, and this is what happens here. But overall it was a very good read, so it's not that deep, okay? So I've got Hell's Paradise, I've read volume 1 and then immediately went and purchased volume 2, and volume 2 wasn't as good as volume 1 in my opinion, but just slightly less interesting. I'm still very much loving this series. I know that a couple of you guys were worried about me not enjoying this, and I don't know why, because this has exactly all the elements for me to absolutely adore these. Like, he is grim dark, he has horror elements, he has a questionable main character that has more depth to him, and there is a mystery, there is combat and fantasy, a lot of fantasy elements. So truly, he has all the elements for me to really love this, and I did. The first volume was so good, as I said, I immediately went and purchased the second, and I don't know why now they've become a bit more difficult to find volumes. So I had to find this on eBay. I don't really buy stuff on eBay, but I didn't have any alternative. I couldn't find volume 2 any other way. So yeah, I'm a bit worried about collecting these 13 volumes long series just because of how available the volumes are. I know that a new anime has just come out, and let me tell you, this is a perfect manga to translate into an anime, because there is such a lush word in this kind of Jigokuraku in this I'm not even attempting anymore to read it, okay? So Hell's Paradise is basically this island, this magic island that they need to go and get this elixir for eternal life, but it is an extremely disturbing and deviant island, and I think in Japanese this is referred as this, okay? I'm not tempting. And the island element is so cool, so weird, and I'm just like horrified, but at the same time it's the best kind of horror that I usually tend to like. Is a kind of horror where there are like a lot of questions unanswered, a lot of things to explore, but accompanied by horrific things that you have to fight and kill. I had just a very good time with it. I'm just fascinated by it. I'm glad that it's not too long of a series, because I think this is one of the series where you put all the pieces together. There's just so much you can go on with. Overall, I really enjoyed these, and such an intriguing plot. And number 2, which could be number 1, okay? So truly, they're equal. I've got Vinland Saga book number 2. Now, I have done a spoilery-filled review of the first arc, the war arc, and I wanted to do so because it allowed to go deeper in my thoughts, where I was coming from with certain ideas or opinions that I was putting forward, and I think there is a lot of benefits to having a spoilery-filled discussions. I also understand though that when you watch something like that and you've read the whole saga, it is difficult to not judge my opinion based on what you know of the rest of the saga. But just to reiterate that when I do those videos, I do them truly before I've read anything else, and I just want to put on my honest opinions of, you know, the first read of something, and in that case was Vinland Saga. So I had an amazing time with all your comments, and now by starting this new arc I could see a lot of the things you guys told me in the comments down below about, you know, how things would change, and I really enjoyed how this was a slower volume, like less action-packed, but at the same time allowed for a deeper characterization of Thorfinn, and how I was surprised on how much I enjoyed that characterization, because again that was one of my critiques of the first arc, is I don't know where I stand with Thorfinn. I also, toward the end, this contains two volumes, so this contains volumes, so I don't know the volumes, but it says chapter 57 to chapter 71. So toward the end of those chapters, I think I'm starting to understand the actual plot of this and what you meant, or at least a very important part of the plot of this. I think I'm getting there, and I'm generally curious to know how, now that things have taken this turn, how Thorfinn is gonna face ancient demons, because yes, my theory of someone who's dead, I don't think it's really dead, is still valid. Maybe I'm wrong, again, I've not read anything else, but I still think, how is he gonna, though, if that person come back, how is he gonna deal with that now that things have changed and his purpose has changed? So it's difficult, you see. Don't give me any spoilers, but I'm curious to see what's gonna happen in the next volumes. I really grew attached also to the character of Einar, I don't know how you pronounce it, and Ketil. I really liked them, and I really like that this series, it is, I mean, at least this volume was a bit more slow paced. I didn't feel like it. It felt it is so engaging at all times. This is also like, you know, shout out to the art, I believe, of Vinland Saga. It just has, like, I don't think I speak enough about how good the art of this is. I can't really show you these because I don't want to spoil anything. But truly, I love how this is structured, the dialogues in it, the characterization that can be done just by like a silent panel. And this series overall truly has everything that I want. Good characters, good plot, good art, good dialogues. So I'm loving it. I did miss Canute and Thorkel in these volumes, this couple of volumes, so we're not very much there. But I have absolutely no doubts that they're gonna appear again and again. But yeah, I am excited about what's next. And number 1, I have, without surprise, Monstrous. Monstrous, this is volume 6, so the second to last volume that's currently out, the Thou it's called. Monstrous has been taking over my life this year. I think we know it. If you've been following me, you know. If you've not been following me, welcome. I love Monstrous. This is truly like leaving a mark. Listen though, if I had £1 for every time I wanted to strangle Tuya in this series, I'd be a sultan. I'd be so rich that I could be declared was Sultan of London, which is not a thing, but I would be so rich that I could declare myself Sultan. I mean, I could be so rich that I could make myself into one, you know what I mean? That kind of money. No, jokes aside, I can't stand the character of Tuya. I just could never stand the character of Tuya. On the other side though, Micah is one of my favorite characters ever. Like, I generally am so attached to this girl and her growth and what's happening to her, but also how she is maturing within those choices that she's making. But also, like, you know, you start with a very grim, dark, highly traumatized character that is now growing, and the growth is both heartbreaking and heartwarming to see. I just generally, by the end of this volume, I felt like all the right feelings. I felt like, yes, like I was so happy for Micah, while at the same time, if I step back, I realize how, you know, dark and actually impactful some of the things that are happening could be. And for someone like me who needs to hear a name 100 times before I can even think of remembering it, this series comes with its own challenges because it's full of factions, full of names, full of lore and names attached to this lore that, no, I am not fully remembering volume to volume. I am also still trying to understand and putting the pieces together of the past, what happened back then, and the origin of this story. I wouldn't mind the spin-off of the origin of all of this mess, but what I've realized is that all of these characters have truly seeped under my skin, and I'm genuinely invested in their well-being. And if you know Monstrous, you know how daring and brave that is, because shit happens all the time, and it's dark, it's bleak, it's bloody, and I am so invested that, I don't know, I hope it doesn't go all up in flames. Do you ever have this feeling where you know that a bad ending would be more impactful? Or am I the only crazy one? Because I would be absolutely devastated and I would hate the bad ending, but I mean, every time I hear that noise, I just think about It by Stephen King in my mind. I don't know why. I know it's not related, I know it's not a clown, but that is a fucking creepy song. Anyway, the IceCream track stopped. Anyway, let me know, is that something wrong with me? Or do people share that sentiment? That the sad truth is that it's the tragedy that really struck a chord within us rather than a happy ending. But I'm not wishing for a bad ending. I'm wishing for a happy ending. It's a very deep argument actually, but I could stay here too long to discuss. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know the answer to this question in the comments down below. If you're new, I would love for you to subscribe. Let me know what also is your favorite read of the month, and I'll see you next time with my next video. Take care of yourself. Ciao!